Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds Podcast. I'm your co-host, Boom to go through the cat that hands your speculation back. And to my left over here is the main who's the narrow, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die. Deadly ideas run spicier content than your girl's OnlyFans.
What is going on, everybody? Before we get into tonight's topic, please make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and with that, let's get right into it. So, listen, I said a little while back in one of the videos where we were going over Canelo's potential opponents and his last opponent, that the closer we got to his next fight, generally speaking, sometime at the end of the year, that if he didn't fight, if he didn't announce that a David Benavidez fight was either next or right after that, I would start calling it a duck, much like a lot of people on here have said. And listen, I'm not a lineman. I'm definitely closer to that because the speculation is there's a number of fighters, all of which none of them are named Benavidez, that Canelo's potentially facing. The names that are most prominent at the top of the list is Edgar Berlanga. We have Chris Eubank Jr. We have now Errol Spence too, apparently as well. And there was one more. Oh, and Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford, given that the turkey is just wanting, continually coming back to that fight. So again, those are the potential names that we have on the list. Listen, I'll be honest with you. Benavidez. Benavidez is who everybody wants to see him fight. One thing I will note, Benavidez this past week just asked for an extension from the WBC to see which mandatory he wanted to enforce, whether at 175 or 168, and he was granted an extension, an additional week. Which my thing is like, dog, if you want to fight Canelo as much as you say you do, why don't you just ask them to enforce your mandatory claim over the WBC title for Canelo Alvarez? I have a little bit of my own conspiracy theory thoughts on that, but that happened just this past week, so I do want to note that. But listen, as far as Canelo Alvarez, he should fight David Benavidez. He should fight him for a number of reasons. Listen, yes, regardless, Canelo Alvarez, first ballot Hall of Famer. No doubt that he will go down to the Hall of Fame. He has fought, I believe if he fights 2 or 3 more people, he will have actually fought more active champions than even Mayweather, which is funny because Leonard Ellerbe, who I'm sure a lot of you guys know, Mayweather's CEO for Mayweather Promotions, even said himself, I think Canelo's shooting for that, to say he's fought more champions than Mayweather, which I want to say 2 or 3 more fights if I'm not mistaken, regardless. Listen, I'll be honest with you, I'm going to go through each of these. Edgar Berlanga, great fighter. I think he's got a promising future. Not there yet. I know, obviously, he's technically from the Bronx, but we have he's Puerto Rican and, the Puerto Rico and Mexico, ongoing rivalry, so on and so forth. So there's that storyline there. But listen, he's going to lose. He's going to lose. Just like Jaime Munguia was just a little bit too young, a little bit too, not ahead of his time, but he's a little bit too green for Canelo Alvarez. Edgar Berlanga is even more so, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think that Edgar Berlanga has the chops to go up against Canelo Alvarez. And again, don't get me wrong, Edgar Berlanga has a promising future. He's just not there yet. Chris Eubank Jr. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I was a fan of Chris Eubank Jr.'s father. I think his father's a great individual, obviously Hall of Famer, all that good stuff. The only problem with it is that Chris Eubank Jr. does not have the chops of his pops. He's a great boxer, but is he on the same level as Canelo Alvarez? No, he's not. Obviously, there's a number of individuals that Chris Eubanks Jr. has been speculated to go up against. Now Canelo Alvarez potentially being one of them. I just don't think, if I'm being honest, there should even be a conversation. But again, it's been reported in the boxing media, so I got to talk about it. Then we have Terence Crawford. Listen, I've said that I don't think Canelo Alvarez has anything to gain from fighting a Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is a phenomenal fighter. He just won an ESPY award for Fighter of the Year in boxing. It deserved. Again, phenomenal fighter. Pound for pound number 1 currently. Looking to potentially make a run at being undisputed in 3 weight divisions currently. Accolades. I'm not here to in any way, shape, or form put down Terrence Crawford. Reason being is he's technically, he's still technically 2 weight classes below Canelo Alvarez. He's at 154 right now, campaigning at 154. So I feel like people would make excuses if Canelo Alvarez were to win, if he were to get a knockout, so on and so forth. I feel like people would say, he was too little. Canelo Alvarez is cherry picking the smaller guy, so on and so forth. So that's the reason why I don't think that fight should happen. Again, nothing against Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is a phenomenal fighter. So I don't have any negative things to say about that individual. So we talked about Edgar Berlanga, we talked about Chris Eubanks Jr., we talked about Terrence Crawford. There's one more individual. Who was the other individual? Errol Spence. Errol Spence is now also being brought up as a potential fight. And listen, I like Errol Spence. I liked Errol Spence even before he got his ass beat by Terrence Crawford. The reason that I don't want to see that fight happen is, listen, Errol Spence was rumored to be retiring, man. To a certain degree, Errol Spence has kind of, I don't want to say he's confirmed it because he definitely hasn't confirmed it, but Errol Spence was definitely showing signs of not coming back. Again, there was the whole him and Terrence Crawford getting it on for number 2, but it never happened because of the numerous injuries that Errol Spence has. So I don't want to see that fight happening because I feel like, again, Errol Spence was already below 2 weight classes, 3 weight classes below 168. And I don't think it would behoove him for his health to fight someone 2 to 3 weight classes above him. It's not a good concept. I mean, he already has the issue with his eye, not just because of the accident, the severe accident that he was in, but because of the beat down that Crawford gave him. So, going up and fighting someone 2 weight classes bigger than you, stronger than you, on and so forth, it's not a good. Plus, I'll be honest with you, I just don't think it's a good matchup for Errol Spence. I think Errol Spence is used to being able to really shake individuals, not knock them out and stuff like that, but really being, putting a little bit of a fear in them. He's not going to get that with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, again, 2 or 3 weight classes above him. It's just not. Hey, listen, why am I not calling it a duck yet? The only reason, and this is where, if what I mentioned earlier, my conspiracy mind comes in. I think at this moment in time, Canelo's last fight is going to be next May. I think it is going to be against David Benavidez. And the only reason David Benavidez is asked for an additional week to consider if he wanted to enforce his mandatory at 175 or 168 is because I believe him and Canelo are working on finalizing some details for May of next year, of 2025. And that's why he asked for the additional week. Because here's the thing. David Benavidez has been very, very adamant, about wanting to pursue Canelo Alvarez. So my thing is, why would you have any questions about where you want to enforce your mandatory? The only reason I can think of is behind the scenes they got something working. And the reason that I believe is a little while back, David Benavidez's pops had come out and said that they were very close to finalizing a fight with Canelo Alvarez. So my thing is, if that's what you're saying now, what changed? Don't get me wrong, things obviously can change. But for the most part, David Benavidez was willing to give up a lot to be able to make that fight happen. So that's just my conspiracy mind coming into play. That's just what I personally think is going on. But you never really know. Again, there's a lot of speculation here. But all the individuals mentioned, Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, Chris Eubanks Jr., and Edgar Berlanga, they're not fights that I want to see. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Let us know in the comments who you guys think he should fight next. But listen, this is just not something that I want to see. What do you think about that, my man?
I think at the end of the day, it's one of those things where it's not necessarily it's fights that we would like to see happen. And granted, there's actually a couple people I actually do kind of want to see that Crawford fight happening. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen for multiple reasons. But going down that list again, there's only 2 people on that list, 3 really, that one of them again should happen. And again, it's the most obvious one. We don't have to go down this list to know what I'm going to say. But of all the fighters on there, I think there's 2 likely candidates, one more likely than the other, that I think should happen only based on criteria that Canelo Alvarez has said, and even some other fighters they themselves said, yeah, there's no money in this room, like there's no point for that fight to happen. So I do agree with you with Berlanga definitely is. Oh, sorry, Edgar. Sorry, I don't know where my mind's at right now. Edgar Berlanga, definitely going to be the lowest on that list of fighters that's going to get a possibility for a matchup. Or if it is, I don't know where their mind is at for making that fight happen.
But at the very least, Berlanga is definitely in the same weight division for Canelo. At the very least, it's in the running, but I think it's even among all the fighters on that, he definitely has the least star power, the least acumen of fighters under his belt. So I don't think there is a huge possibility for that. The only fighter that I think would have the highest chance of it happening, given the factors of weight, the star power that this fighter has, I think is Chris Eubanks Jr. Again, Chris Eubanks Jr. already has he's already taken after his father a little bit, at the very least in name, and at least has some caliber of fighting acumen that at least people would think, okay, yeah, I think I'd want to see this match. Nowhere near above Dave Benavidez or Terrence Crawford, but even Terrence Crawford admits, like, look, he's again two weights above me. Like, even he has to say, like, yeah, there's no money for this. And to be honest, I have to agree. And that's coming out of Terrence Crawford's mouth. If even he thinks, yeah, there's no money in this for Canelo, win or lose, then you have to think, like, yeah, that fight's not gonna happen, even if we have the Turkey Al Sheikh's money throwing behind it. If it does, cool, I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, like, there's nothing in it for Canelo besides money that's the fight's gonna. That I think the fight's gonna happen. Again, we have the alleged ducking. Again, if October comes and nothing's happening, then cool. Then I'm gonna call it a duck by Canelo with the David Benavidez thing. But the only ones that I would have seen happening is the Dave Benavidez fight, the Terrence Crawford matchup, which even he says, I don't think that's gonna happen. The only viable candidate, I think, after all of that, would be Errol Spence, only because of they're in the same weight division, and he has the star power behind him to even match a matchup of that even happening in that same weight division. Errol Spence is 3 weight divisions below. 3 weight division. Who am I thinking of then? Who am I thinking of that? Berlanga. No, but there's one more. There's one more in that same division. No. Okay, maybe I'm tripping. That. No, Eubanks. Sorry, Eubanks is in the same weight division. I'm getting them all mixed up, but not Errol Spence. Errol Spence again he's 2 weight divisions below. Chris Eubanks is at the very least in the same weight division that I think has the possibility of that matchup even happening in the first place. Again, because of the star power, and he at least has some reputable fighters in his backlog that he at least looks reputable enough to fight Canelo. Not win, granted, but at the very least, like, at least stand a chance and at least make for a decent pay-per-view. But what do you think about that? I know I messed up with the Errol Spence one. That's on me. I don't know why I confused it for Chris Eubanks for a second.
No, man, it's all good. We make mistakes. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to see any of those guys. Again, Terrence Crawford, clearly a star. Even Chris Eubanks Jr., dude's a star, especially in his country. Edgar Berlanga is starting to become a star, but he's not quite there yet. And Errol Spence is already a star here, but he's 3 weight classes below. I mean, it's just not doable. He just got eye surgery. There's too many things there for Errol Spence to really be considered. I'll be honest with you. Listen, all I want to hear is David Benavidez, man. That's what I want to hear. That's the fight that needs to happen. I know a number of people on our as far as our viewers might disagree with this, because there's been quite a few people that are clearly Canelo fans commenting on our previous videos. But listen, let's keep it a buck here. Out of all the fights, out of all the potentials that Canelo has in front of him, there's really not that many good names. David Benavidez is the one. And listen, I'm willing to forego David Benavidez fight in the later part of this year, only if Canelo comes out and says, or even David Benavidez, and they come out and say, look, we're locking in for Cinco de Mayo of 2025. Here's the thing. If they do that, if they say, we're fighting in May of 2025, dude, he could fight the dude at the park in the end of this year, and I'd be okay with that. I don't give a shit. As long as we get a for sure David Benavidez fight, my man, I don't care who he fights. He could fight Chavez Jr. again for all I care. He could fight friggin' Terrence Crawford, Eubanks, Berlanga. Doesn't matter to me. He can fight whoever he wants in the end of this year, as long as we for sure get from his mouth saying we are locked in Cinco de Mayo, David Benavidez, Canelo Alvarez. If that gets thrown out, then I will forget. Doesn't matter to me what fight happens in the end of this year. But Maybe I'm being a little bit generous. Maybe a lot of y'all maybe already think he's already ducking. Who knows? It is what it is, man. We'll definitely see. We'll keep you guys tuned in. Those are the names that are most prominent right now based on Michael Benson and a couple other reputable boxing media. So we'll definitely keep you guys tuned in, and we'll tune in ourselves to make sure that we are up to date as much as possible. And with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
Until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you on the next one.